She stopped to help a stranger in the storm, never imagining the man she saved was about to expose the truth that would shake her entire workplace. Rain hammered the empty highway like it was trying to wash the entire world away. The storm was so heavy it blurred the trees into dark smudges on either side of the road, and the water ran in fast-moving rivers along the cracked pavement. Maya gripped the steering wheel tightly, squinting through her windshield as her old pickup truck rattled and groaned with every mile. The wipers dragged across the glass with a tired squeak, moving slower than her patience, and she could practically feel the engine begging her to let it rest. But Maya couldn't rest. Not tonight. Not after a 12-hour shift at the diner. Her back ached, her feet were burning, and the few dollars she had made in tips were barely enough to buy groceries for the week. On top of that, her manager's voice echoed in her head like a warning siren. One more mistake, Maya, and you're gone. She couldn't lose this job, not when her younger brother depended on her, not when bills were already past due. So her mind was filled with worry, exhaustion, and the endless math of survival, not the storm. Which was why, at first, she didn't think much of the dark shape up ahead. Probably a branch, or debris, or something blown onto the road. But when her headlights swept over it, her breath caught. It wasn't a branch. It wasn't debris. It was a man. An old man, drenched from head to toe, his clothes clinging to his body, water dripping from his hair in thin streams. He held a briefcase against his chest like it weighed more than he did, his other hand trembling at his side. He looked completely defeated, lost, terrified, and heartbreakingly alone in the pounding storm. For a moment, Maya's instincts screamed at her to keep driving. After all, she was a young woman alone in the middle of nowhere. Stopping was the opposite of safe. But then something inside her, something gentle, something stubborn, refused to drive past. She slowed, pulled onto the shoulder, and rolled down her window just enough to call out over the rain. "Sir, are you okay?" The old man lifted his head, blinking through the downpour, shivering so hard his teeth clicked. "My car broke down," he stammered. "No signal. I've been walking nearly an hour." Maya knew this road well. No houses, no gas stations, no help for miles. "Get in," she said firmly. "You'll get sick out here." He hesitated, surprised that anyone, let alone a stranger, would stop for him. But Maya offered a warm, steady smile, and slowly, gratefully, he climbed inside her truck. That single, quiet act of kindness was about to change both of their lives forever. Inside the truck, Maya quickly turned up the heat, her fingers stiff from the cold. She reached under the seat and pulled out the old towel she kept for emergencies, spilled coffee, leaking groceries, the occasional rainstorm. She handed it to him without hesitation. The old man let out a weak chuckle as he dabbed at his face. "You're prepared," he said, shivering but grateful. Maya shrugged, giving a small, tired smile. "I work doubles," she replied. "Rainstorms happen. Emergencies happen. Life happens. You learn to keep a few things ready." Her tone was light, but he could hear the weight behind it. The weariness, the resilience, the years she had spent picking up after situations life threw at her. As he settled in, Maya noticed something unusual about him. Not his appearance. Plenty of older men came through the diner, but the way he carried himself. There was a calm gentleness in the way he spoke, a softness in the way he looked at her, as if he wasn't judging her beat-up truck, her worn-out uniform, or the exhaustion tugging at her face. Most people talked down to her, or ignored her entirely. But this man listened. "So," she asked, pulling back onto the slick road, "where can I take you?" "The Evergreen Lodge," he said, adjusting the towel. "My company is hosting a meeting there tonight. But clearly, I won't be making it unless this storm suddenly feels generous." Maya laughed quietly. "Well, tonight might be your lucky night." As the wipers smeared rain across the windshield, conversation filled the cab, slowly at first, like two strangers testing the water, then warmer, more open. He asked about her job, not with the usual nosy curiosity of customers, but with genuine interest. She found herself talking more than she expected. About long nights at the diner, rude customers, and the constant pressure of supporting her younger brother after their mother passed. She admitted her dream of studying nursing one day, of doing something meaningful, something stable, something better. He listened as if every word mattered. Not once did he interrupt. Not once did he look bored. "You seem like someone who deserves better," he said gently when she finished. The words hit her harder than she expected. People didn't tell her things like that. People didn't see her like that. When they finally reached the lodge, he paused before stepping out. Rain pattered on the roof as he reached for her hand, his grip surprisingly firm for someone so shaken by the storm. "Thank you, Maya," he said, his eyes sincere. "More than you know." She smiled awkwardly, brushing off the warmth blooming in her chest. To her, he was just an old man grateful for a ride, a small act of kindness in the middle of a storm. She had no idea that this simple moment was about to turn her entire world upside down the very next day. Maya arrived at the diner earlier than usual the next morning, hoping to make a good impression after a long night. She was still thinking about the old man she'd helped, wondering if he'd made it to his meeting on time. But before she could even tie her apron, the back office door slammed open so hard the walls rattled. Mrs. Whitman stormed out, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. Her mouth was a thin, irritated line, and her eyes locked onto Maya like a hawk spotting prey. "Maya," she snapped loudly enough for the entire diner to hear. "In my office. Now." The chatter among the staff instantly died. Cooks froze mid-motion. A busboy holding a stack of plates held his breath. Everyone knew that tone. Mrs. Whitman wasn't calling anyone in for a friendly chat. Maya followed her inside, anxiety curling in her stomach. Before she could sit, Mrs. Whitman slammed a clipboard onto the desk, paper scattering. "I got a complaint about you," she said, her voice sharp and cold. "A customer claims you gave him the wrong order and overcharged him." Maya blinked in confusion. "What? That never." "Don't argue with me," Mrs. Whitman barked, pointing a finger at her. "This is your third complaint this month." Maya's mouth fell open, but those weren't even. "I said enough." Mrs. Whitman folded her arms, looking down her nose. "I'm letting you go." The words hit Maya like a punch to the stomach. Her legs felt weak, her throat tightened, and she had to grip the back of the chair to stay steady. "No. Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. I need this job. I help my brother. I pay the bills. Please." "Everyone needs their job," Mrs. Whitman snapped, turning away as if she were done with the conversation. "Clean out your locker. You're done here." Tears welled in Maya's eyes, blurring the harsh fluorescent lights above her. One false accusation. Just one. And her entire world was collapsing. She felt her chest cave in. Where would she go? What would she do? How would she tell her brother? Before she could even gather the courage to speak again, the bell above the diner door chimed. "Ring." Mrs. Whitman's head snapped up. "Stay here," she ordered, then hurried out, smoothing her hair and adjusting her apron. Maya wiped her eyes, breathing shakily. From inside the office, she heard Mrs. Whitman's sugary voice. "Welcome to Sunny Cafe. Table for." But she stopped abruptly. Maya stepped out of the office and froze. Standing in the doorway was the old man from last night. Except now he wasn't shivering or soaked. He was dressed sharply in a tailored suit, polished shoes, and confidence that filled the room. Mrs. Whitman rushed to him again. "Sir, right this way." "I'm not here to eat," he said calmly. His eyes shifted toward Maya, immediately softening. "I'm here for her." The diner fell silent. Every worker, every customer, turned their heads in confusion. He walked straight to Maya, his expression full of genuine concern. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Before she could answer, Mrs. Whitman jumped in. "She's being dismissed," she said quickly, "for poor service." The old man raised one eyebrow, slowly, dangerously. "Is that so?" And the whole diner held its breath. The man walked forward with a calm authority that tightened the air in the diner. Every step echoed like a warning. Without a word, he set his briefcase on the nearest table, snapping the metal clasps open with deliberate precision. The entire room leaned in, curiosity buzzing like electricity. Inside were neatly organized documents, thick, official-looking files stamped with the bold logo of a major investment company. Not the kind of papers an ordinary diner customer carried around. Then he pulled out a badge. Not just any badge. A corporate identification badge marked with a gold stripe, reserved for high-level executives. The kind of badge that made people straighten their backs and stop breathing. He held it up for the room to see. "My name is Charles H. Raymond," he announced, his voice filling every corner of the diner. owner of Raymond Enterprises, and the new primary investor preparing to acquire this entire diner chain. A stunned silence swept through the cafe. Forks dropped. Cooks froze mid-step. Even the humming refrigerator suddenly seemed quieter. Maya felt her knees weaken. Mrs. Whitman went pale, so pale she looked like she might faint. Mr. Raymond continued, his tone calm, but carrying a sharp edge beneath it. Last night, this young woman, he gestured to Maya, saved me from a dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation. She showed compassion, courage, and kindness. She treated me with humanity when she had every right to drive past. He turned to Mrs. Whitman. And you are telling me that this is the person you're firing over a complaint you didn't even investigate. Mrs. Whitman swallowed hard, her voice cracking. And Mr. Raymond, I didn't know who she was. That's the problem, he said, cutting her off. You never bothered to know anything. He stepped forward, addressing the entire staff and every customer seated inside. In my company, we don't punish good people. We lift them up. We reward integrity. Then he gently placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. She stiffened, overwhelmed. She is not fired, he announced. In fact, she's being promoted. Effective immediately, gasps spread across the diner. Workers whispered, customers stared. Maya felt her heart race, both stunned and confused. Promoted? She repeated softly, barely believing the word. Mr. Raymond smiled warmly. Yes, to shift supervisor. Better hours. Better pay. You've earned it. Mrs. Whitman's forced smile twitched as she struggled to hide her panic. Of course, of course. Congratulations, Maya. But Mr. Raymond wasn't finished. One more thing, he said, his voice turning firm again. This diner needs new leadership. Effective today, you, Mrs. Whitman, are relieved of your position. A collective gasp rolled through the diner like a shockwave. Justice had arrived. Swift, precise, and undeniable. Mrs. Whitman's reign of intimidation was over. And Maya, kind, hard-working, overlooked Maya, had finally been seen for who she truly was. Later that afternoon, after the shock waves finally settled and the whispering customers drifted out, Maya found herself standing near the front door. The chaos had died down. The diner hummed softly again, and for the first time in a long time. She could breathe. Mr. Raymond was preparing to leave, adjusting his coat and closing his briefcase. But Maya stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Raymond, why did you do all this for me? He paused, turning to her with a gentle, almost fatherly smile. It wasn't the commanding tone from earlier. It wasn't the authoritative presence that had made the entire diner fall silent. This was something softer, kinder. Because, Maya, he said, one act of kindness deserves another. She swallowed hard, emotion tightening her throat. You didn't know who I was, he continued. You didn't expect anything in return. You helped me simply because someone needed help. That kind of character is rare. People like you deserve to rise. Tears filled her eyes, not from fear, not from stress, but from pure relief. For once, someone saw her, truly saw her. She wiped her cheek, embarrassed. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, he replied warmly. Just keep being who you are. He hesitated for a moment, then added more quietly. And if you ever decide you want to pursue nursing school, call my office. Maya's breath hitched. You'd help me with that? Mr. Raymond nodded gently. I believe in investing in good people. And you, Maya, are exactly the kind of person the world needs more of. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to sob. She wasn't used to miracles. She wasn't used to kindness coming back her way. But here it was, unexpected and life-changing. A stormy night. A stranger lost in the rain. A simple decision to stop. All of it had led to this moment. A moment that reshaped her future. When Mr. Raymond finally stepped out into the sunlight, Maya stayed by the door a little longer, letting the realization sink in. She wasn't the scared girl who walked in that morning. She wasn't the tired waitress terrified of losing everything. She was someone who mattered. Someone whose kindness had come full circle. As she walked back into the diner, this time with pride straightening her shoulders, she understood something she'd never fully believed before. Sometimes the smallest kindness becomes the blessing that saves your life. And sometimes, it becomes the beginning of a brand new one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful, emotional, and jaw-dropping stories every week. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next twist-filled episode. See you in the next video.